Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming. And thank you, Neil, Kelly, and Brianna for those beautiful speeches. In directing plays at COA, I have worked with many amazing actors, including Brianna, and David, as you know. I wish you were in one of my plays, Neil. Amazing actors, stage managers, and techies. It's easy to put one's entire heart and soul into theater. It demands it of you. And during a show, you can get away with nothing less. But an artist must find a balance of interests and passions. Otherwise, inspiration may be elusive and spirit wane. At COA, the actors who walk the boards of gates are much more than just the characters on stage. They are farmers, teachers, writers, thinkers, and ethnobotanists. In other words, artists with many passions, perspectives, and personalities, fueling their work and inspiration, bring human ecology to their presence on stage and off. Actress Jane Alexander is another such thespian, one who has dedicated herself not only to the performing arts, but also to the environment, education, and wildlife. Jane is a member of the board of the American Birding Association and a commissioner for New York State Parks, and has worked with numerous environmental and conservation groups in the past. The National Endowment for the Arts would not stand where it is today if it were not for Jane's strong support and eloquent leadership during the Clinton administration. Jane has been recognized for her work on stage and on screen with the Pell Award for Lifetime Achievement in the Arts, 4 Oscar nominations, and 2 Emmy Awards. For her public service efforts, she has also received the Harry S. Truman Award for Public Service, the Christopher Reeve First Amendment Award, and the Living Legacy Award Peace Prize. In addition to her many achievements in theater and in public service, Jane has been a loyal friend and dedicated family member. After my conversations with Jane on Friday afternoon, there is no doubt in my mind that she sees the world through the eyes of a true human ecologist. Whether in her approaches to theater, learning, or her many other pursuits, Jane's perspective is interdisciplinary, open, and creative. It is with great honor and humility that I welcome Jane Alexander to the stage, commencement speaker for College of the Atlantic's class of 2011.
Thank you, Alicia. Really lovely. And also students, Neil and Kelly and Brianna. Beautiful, beautiful remarks. David Hales, President. Acting President Andy Griffith, the Sharps. Mr. Folk, faculty, students, family, and friends. I'm really, really happy to be here today. I've wanted to go to this college for a long time. I was a little bit too old when it opened, and I remain a little bit too old now. Never, I heard out there. Yeah, right. Well, I may be back. I'm grateful for those of you who chose me to be your speaker today, and I'm grateful for the friendship that I've had with Andy Griffiths and his wife, Susan Dowling, for many, many decades. And I'm very, very happy to be here to welcome you students into what a young friend of mine calls the third phase of your life. She says the first phase is from infancy to the time you leave your family. The second phase is what you've just completed, your college years, your higher education. And the third phase is when you emerge from this cocoon of learning into the vast world, your wings a bit damp, but your flight a bit wobbly, but you're ready to fly, if you can find a job. Now, listening to some of your presentations yesterday, I feel the world is really lucky to have you. And I think that you are very lucky to have attended the College of the Atlantic at this time in history. This is a college, as I say, I would have wished to have attended, certainly at this time in our lives. The idea of human ecology is one that appeals to me greatly, and as an actress, I often thought the many different roles I played, the connectedness to all kinds of people in the world and to places and things through my work was an exploration of human ecology. I loved reading the description of the courses in your course book. Everything from quantum mechanics to autobiography, residential wind power, to 21st century economics. Those are fascinating subjects. And what hard-working teachers you have. My gosh, each one of them taking on numbers of classes. I have to applaud you for the time and the commitment that you have given to this college and to the students. Trustees, you as well. Thank you for that. Now, when you get to be my age, the gap between the world today and the world that I knew at 21 is so great that any advice I might offer is vitiated by the advances that you take for granted. However, I do believe there are constants in the human condition, and those embedded in my 7 decades may have some kind of small meaning to you. I don't need to tell you of the cataclysmic changes technology has created in your generation. Our computers, all the new technologies, have had a greater impact exponentially on the dissemination of information and our connectedness to one another than the last seismic shift of this sort, the Gutenberg Bible and the printing press about 400 years ago. I am still personally awed by the miracle of the cell phone. I don't know how that works. I call my husband. I was halfway around the world a week ago. I call him, and it's instantaneous and clear, and I only have to press 2 buttons. I mean, wow, think about that. Now, this wasn't something that I ever imagined when I was growing up in a pre-television world where we sat around Sunday nights and listened to Jack Benny and other Sunday night radio shows. The real impact of just this one simple technological marvel, the cell phone, was brought home to me last August when I was birding with some friends in Papua New Guinea, where many of the men still wore bones through their noses. They traded in the currency of pigs and wives, I might add, and had no written language. An Irish company just last summer, a year ago at this time, had erected cell phone towers on some of the high peaks in the mountains of this remote area of Papua New Guinea. And they had given out cell phones for 4-month trials. Now, several of the men that we were with in these villages mastered these little devices in a matter of hours and were chatting to each other across the village with great dexterity and with frequency. That little wonder in the palm of their hands suddenly ended a way of life that had prevailed for them for thousands of years. Just one cell phone in each village eliminated the need for them to walk to the next village, which they had done daily, sometimes several times a day. It was 2 miles away. It ended that walk. And so I wondered how their social life would change, not to mention their trading life. I wondered how they were going to pay for the phones when the bill came due. In pigs? And what was so important that they were talking to each other so much? But then I wondered the same thing about my texting granddaughters. So human beings are human beings the world over, and a new device is there to enthrall all of us. Their lives are never going to be the same. And as each new technological advance enters your lives, and by the way, we're just at the beginning of all this, as this enters your lives will be not the same ever as well. Progress is welcome. It's even celebrated. And I wouldn't get my computer or any of these new devices for anything. I have no desire to go back to my clacking typewriter and whiteout, which I used. See, this generation doesn't even know what whiteout is. But we remember, don't we? We used a lot of it. And it was a constant companion for my errors and my ink-stained pages. No, and clicking on those little cute icons of a cut and paste is really fun, isn't it? I mean, I use that a lot. I wouldn't want to go back to racing. I still visit the library, but I don't take endless trips for research like I used to. I adore Google and Wikipedia and the cornucopia of customer reviews, blogs, comments online. I wouldn't turn my back on a clock for technology for anything. But with every step forward, we erase some footprints of the past. With every advance, there is loss. With every hour online, we lose an hour elsewhere. And there are still just 24 of them in a day. We are arguably more connected to each other now than we ever used to be, but it is a different kind of connectedness. It is not a visceral connectedness. And 3 of our 5 senses are excluded. Touch is reduced to a keyboard, taste is gone altogether, as is smell, and what is left to us is audio and visual for the time being. I have friends who, as many of you probably do as well, who play computer games, and sometimes their opponents are in Japan or India or Moscow, Thailand. They know that much about them. They know their screen name, their level of skill, but they don't know much else. They don't have the memory that I have of my father sitting across from me at the backgammon table every night after dinner, and his laughter when he defeated me for the umpteenth time, or the smell of his Old Spice aftershave lotion. The quality of music recording is extraordinary today, and with buds in our ears, we can shut out the world and be transported, but I would still rather be singing the Hallelujah chorus in concert with 100 other people, or crooning pop tunes around the piano with friends and family. That gives me a joy as nothing else does. My family and I watch many remarkable nature films that air on TV these days, and they're enlightening and beautifully shot. But when I catch sight of a Blackburnian warbler through my binoculars on a misty May morning, there is a thrill unlike any other. That is a 3D world, 5D with all the senses to the max, engaging everything. So what I'm saying is that we must be alert to the losses that we encounter by the new waves of progress, and that a virtual world is not a real world, although it seeks like a seductive imposter to be so. We may be preparing the human race for colonizing outer space, but we're not there yet. We're still on Earth. And I realize that here at COA, many of you engage in field work, and my caution may be misapplied in your case, but believe me, there are plenty of kids today who only want to be where the electrical plugs are, and who spend an inordinate amount of time of their life online. So please take a kid to the woods or the water when you get a chance. We must be alert because it only takes one generation to lose a skill, a language, a recipe, a song, any art form. We may be the last generation to know handwriting. Many schools don't teach script anymore. We cannot save everything, but there are things worth saving. And human relations, one-to-one, sharing a meal, a game, a song, a dance, or a walk in the woods are several. So seek those out for deeply satisfying experiences and to mitigate loneliness, because it can get lonely in a virtual world. There are other things that need saving in the world too. The world itself, as you well know, needs saving. But I have no doubt that you COA graduates will make a good stab at it in science, art, the environment, politics, and social issues, to name a few. People like to believe that the present time is the most difficult time history has witnessed, but that's not true. History teaches us that it's not true. Each era has its own set of problems and its own tools for dealing with them. My time in the 60s was an intense time of turmoil, where we pressed for civil rights, women's liberation, and an end to the Vietnam War. Social change then was encapsulated in phrases such as Timothy Leary's LSD-induced turn on, tune in, and drop out. And in communal living and loving arrangements, and in abandoning our bras if we were women, and shortening our skirts. These social aspects lasted only a short while, but at the same time we did make real strides in race relations, in the feminist agenda, and in ending the war. And now, almost 50 years later, oh joy, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones are still here to stay. The challenges you face today may seem overwhelming and insurmountable, but they can be met, and COA graduates like you are poised to meet them. What you have been studying will pull you forward into this new world. We save the world, we save ourselves by inches and with partners. It all begins with your quest, and your quest begins with questions. We cannot know answers until we know what questions to ask. My dad was an orthopedic surgeon in Boston who loved nothing more when he was lecturing than to include a good joke. And when he died, I discovered these very small index cards in his wallet. Now, they were covered with about 150 punchlines. But only the punchlines. And one was, he failed to make the U-turn. U is spelled E-W-E. Well, luckily I knew that one from my childhood. The joke, why did the ram jump over the cliff? He failed to make the U-turn. I've not been so lucky with the other 149. Now, I've been carrying these cards around for the better part of 30 years, and I've been trying to figure out, now here's a punchline. No, that's the way the dress hangs. Okay, here's another one. Snake bite elbow. If anybody knows the setups to these jokes, would you please see me afterwards? I'd really appreciate it. The point is that answers are meaningless if you don't know what questions to ask. And questions are key to everything, the basis of communication. Hello, how are you? The synthesis of information. What is most important? The knowledge of discovery. Why is this happening? Questions require observation, and observation requires curiosity. Human beings are naturally curious. Your teachers have introduced you to ideas and aspects you might never have known, opening new doors, and they have encouraged you to observe things carefully before arriving at conclusions. And so in making a difference in the world, continue on this very same path. Curiosity will draw you to your subject, your career, or your passion. Observation and questioning will allow you to know it well, and your imagination will make the discoveries that give you some answers. Most of the failure in the world today is a failure of imagination and will. I've spent most of my life in the professional world of theater and film and television, but my passion has always been in wildlife and wildlife conservation, and that's where much of my time today is spent. I'm drawn to it because I love the exterior natural world, and it rivals my passion for the interior creative world of the arts. I mentioned that I'm a birder. Well, I'm also involved with an organization called Panthera, which is to save the wild cats of the world, and several of them are going very, very quickly indeed. There are, for example, only about 3,200 wild tigers left on the planet. That is a smaller number than is in captivity. And there are only about 1,000 breeding female tigers. So tigers are being decimated by loss of habitat, but more significantly by poaching. What is a tiger worth? I mean, you might think a tiger is priceless. No, a dead tiger's worth about $10,000 on the black market. mainly to satisfy the Chinese medicinal trade for body parts. The rangers hired to protect these very tigers are bought off, and the cats today are dying quicker than they can reproduce. Of course, our planet has seen major extinctions. That's a natural process of evolution. And when the tiger goes, your children may not mourn its loss. It will move into the realm of lore and legend along with dinosaurs. But unlike the dinosaurs, this extinction and that of many of the great mammals today is man-made. The rhinos, the orangutans, to name a few others. We are not safeguarding the spaces that these creatures need for survival. This is an abject failure of imagination and will. The death of the tiger diminishes us, it diminishes all mankind, and it needn't happen. As the great naturalist William Beebe said, the beauty and genius of a work of art may be reconceived, though its first material expression be destroyed. A vanished harmony may yet again inspire the composer, but when the last individual of a race of living things breathes no more, another heaven and another earth must pass before we see such a one again. Saving the tiger is just one of the causes I'm involved with, along with many other people far more influential than I am. It takes imagination to end the trade in body parts, and it takes will to commit to the cause for the long haul. I remember 50 years ago when I became involved in the issue of nuclear weapons. Pediatricians Benjamin Spock and Helen Caldecott introduced me as a young mother to the dangers of radiation poisoning. I'm still engaged with closing down the old and dangerous nuclear power plant Indian Point, situated just a little over 20 miles from New York City. Helen Caldecott taught me not to be fearful about speaking out on an issue I felt passionate about, because I would be surprised how few people were really doing so and how little information people really had. I pass her wisdom on to each one of you. You will make many friends through your passion. Speak out and don't give up. There are myriad problems in the world which cry out for solutions. As you graduates begin your life's work, you may be engaged in health issues, hunger, security, cybersecurity for sure, science, economics, education, art, or agriculture. In every endeavor, the problems you encounter have solutions somewhere. And always be encouraged by the successes. We tend to forget about them. But the peregrine falcon, brought back from the brink of extinction through the banning of DDT, the soot, which used to blanket New York so you wouldn't go out in a white shirt or a white dress 50 years ago, has been eliminated through pollution control. Polio, which took the lives of several of my friends back in the 50s, is now almost eradicated from the planet through the vaccines. The solutions exist, the successes we can celebrate. Finding them takes observation, imagination, and will. I expect that many of you will be presenting new and innovative ideas to the world, judging by some of the wonderful projects you have completed and some of the presentations I heard yesterday here at the college. Now, don't ever forget that new ideas are often met with criticism or dismissal. Don't be discouraged. Keep on and keep in mind that old Chinese proverb, the man who says it cannot be done should not interrupt the person doing it. So go forth into the world with buoyancy, because planet Earth is really a great planet to be on. Know you are not alone, that you are connected to all things, and that together the problems are solved one by one. Remember to love your family and your friends, be grateful for your teachers, and to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. And never forget to party. Make art, make love, and make good.
What a wonderful address. Thank you so much. It is now my great pleasure to present an honorary Master of Philosophy degree in Human Ecology to Jane Alexander.